everyone. Happy Wednesday. So I was literally ready to leave for court. It started, or it was supposed to start at noon today. And then I got a text message that it was going to start at 2 p.m. instead. So I decided to jump on very quickly. And I want to go over the jury slip, the charges, the acts, because I feel like they've been all over the place. And I've been texting a couple of lawyers to see if they could jump on and join me for a minute. Hey, Robin. Hey, Melvin. Hey, Derek. Stay cool, guys. Hey, Steve. Miss you. Oh, my goodness. So let's see if any lawyers, I literally just sent the link out. I'm like, here, jump on if you can. Jump on if you can. Hey, Zero, too. But first, thank you so much, CPR. That's so nice of you. First, let me just share. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share the government's letter, and then I'll kind of go over it in lay terms here, because I know that it's the media and all of the big outlets, their headlines are charges dropped. But I mean, if we're going with the indictment, right? The indictment has 5 charges, 2 counts of trafficking, 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, and then the RICO charge. So there are acts listed underneath those charges, and you need to have, or the jury needs to find, I think it's at least 2 acts for the RICO to be considered guilty. But let's go through that. I'll go through all of it right now. I'm so happy. You guys are making me so happy. This trial has been totally wild. I wasn't even actually gonna do the whole thing and cover the whole thing, and then I ended up getting just some freelance jobs to cover it, and then started covering it on my channel. And now I'm like, well, I guess I gotta see it all the way through, clearly. But all right, thanks, Bear Mama. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Colin. Thanks, Melanie. You guys are great. All right, so let me pull up right now the government's letter here. All right. Let's see. Okay. Make sure everybody can see this. So hi, Claudia. I'll go through this, but basically let me go back up, because I did get sort of like a lay explanation here. So last night, the feds submitted a letter to the judge, and they are addressing proposed edits to the jury instructions. And this is totally, I mean, this is normal. The government and the defense obviously had very different verdict slips, jury slips, whatever you want to call it. And so they have to really meet in the middle here, of course. So we're going to have I think somebody just asked, am I going to court today? Yes, I am going to court today, because what they're doing, the jury's not coming in. They're going to discuss the jury charges, and they're going to hopefully finalize everything. So hold on, sorry. Yes, send them. And yes, thanks. Sorry. All right. So back to this. So the government submitted a letter last night, proposed edits to the jury instructions for Diddy's trial on sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage. So the government suggested via this letter, quote unquote, streamlining by removing, and I'm getting some crap from people for kind of reporting the way the government wrote this letter, because, well, I'll make myself bigger for a second. Because some people are like, yeah, so the government thinks, the government has no case, so they're removing this and they're saying streamlining. Well, let me just report, and then I can go back and tell you maybe what I think. I know I don't offer a lot of opinions on everything, but I can kind of tell you what I'm thinking just based on yesterday, and obviously after today I'll have a better idea. But yes, they said that they wanted to remove some of these acts in order to streamline deliberations, and that I actually agree with, because their proposal was so confusing before. Like if I was having trouble with it, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for the jury here. Okay, so they suggested streamlining by removing instructions, right, or acts for attempted kidnapping, arson, and aiding and abetting the trafficking. And yesterday, we heard a pretty good argument from Alexandra Shapiro as to why these counts did not, or basically, sorry, why these acts did not meet the proper requirements. Let's say, for example, New York law, they're talking about the kidnapping of Capricorn Clark. Well, I guess with New York law, you have to be forced or held by force. And Capricorn Clark, during her testimony, and they cited this, she wasn't necessarily held by force. And then with Cassie Ventura in California, and that's the same thing. They were referring to kidnapping. Basically, Cassie, after one of the horrible beatings that she endured. And also, Alexandra Shapiro made sure to say, regrettably, after this domestic violence issue. And then she would say, and by the way, domestic violence is not RICO. But she said, after this regrettable domestic violence issue, Cassie was sent to this hotel to recover. And she brought up the transcript and said, Cassie's words were security brought her to this hotel. And then she indicated, again, you have to be kidnapped by force. And then she also said that cited Cassie's testimony where Cassie said that she would rather recover at Diddy's house. So Shapiro was like, well, I don't understand if you were so scared or if he kidnapped you, why would you rather recover at his house? So I am not surprised at all that the government wanted to remove these acts under the RICO. And then again, with the arson, so I'll go through, because again, they removed kidnapping, arson, and aiding and abetting, these acts under RICO. The arson, Shapiro brought up again that this, the female DNA that was found on the Molotov cocktail bottle, and then brought up the fact that it was hearsay based on Kid Cudi's testimony. Kid Cudi had said or testified that when he asked Diddy directly at Soho House after this meeting, what about my car? And Diddy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, well, I mean, that's hearsay. So you can't just take, whatever. So, and then with the aiding and abetting the trafficking, I think that they removed that because the argument from Alexandra Shapiro, and this goes to RICO, I think as a whole, was that none of Diddy's employees, like the assistants, all they did was set up the hotel rooms when it came to this. They never thought, and again, he cited transcript, testimony, etc. They never thought that Diddy was doing anything illegal, let alone a federal crime of trafficking. So I think that they were like, yeah, it's probably a good idea to remove that as well. So, I mean, depending on how you look at it, if they only really need the two predicates, I mean, is it that great for the defense? Like, I don't know. That's why I was kind of hoping to have a lawyer on and get their take as well, because it does sound like they are streamlining the process to get the verdict that they want, right? If it's two predicates, whatever. So let me make sure I'm not, okay. So yes, so they simplified the language for count one as well. And then they are requesting 7 additional instructions on the S trafficking and forced labor. So they think that they are really solid on forced labor and trafficking as it matches with the under the RICO charges. So the forced labor, if you heard me talk about this yesterday with Alexandra Shapiro's Rule 29, she had said the forced labor, she really was comparing it to an immigrant situation where you overwork an immigrant or an illegal immigrant and promise them this, this green card, and then you don't get it for them. And she's like, all of these employees, she said their biggest fear here wasn't like he was forcing them to stay and be overworked and do all this stuff. They were actually scared about getting fired and losing their job. And then she would cite testimony on that. So in terms of the forced labor, I am a little confused at why they didn't remove that, but that's just me. Let me see if did anyone respond to me? No lawyers responded. Oh shoot, let me ask Jarrett. Jarrett came on with me before. He's usually really good at explaining these things. let's see. What time is it? Yeah, I'm good. So, and I'm not done. And I'm going to show you the jury slip as well. Hold on. Let me see if he can invite him. I'm copying and pasting. This will be good. Okay. So let's go back to this. I'll make myself smaller so you guys can see the letter. Okay. Going down. So this is, I mean, and like I said, I am reading a summary of all of this. It's about 8 pages. So I was just trying to simplify it for everybody. Okay, so the 7 additional instructions on the trafficking and forced labor, to clarify just really complex legal concepts, which is payment, conduct, lack of physical restraint. And they're arguing that these are critical given the case facts involving Jane, Cassie, Mia, and Capricorn Clark. So they also want to request a detailed conspiracy instruction, a narcotics-related interstate commerce clarification, and a refined venue instruction. And then they want revised unanimous instructions for sex trafficking and Mann Act counts. So Jarrett is going to join me, he said, in a second, because I am a little confused about this. So he's going to clarify. I think the government is saying that the jury doesn't have to be unanimous on the acts per se, under the RICO. And as long as there's 2 of them, that could be a guilty verdict. So let me see what Jarrett says, because I'm like, whoa, that would be wild. So let me just quickly, I'll keep this up and I'll go to the actual form. Or did I? What the hell? Okay. Yeah, that would be, oh my goodness. I did not know that was a thing. So letter. Okay, here it is. Their proposed verdict sheet. Download, sorry. Actually, I should just make this bigger. Can you see this? Let me go back. Okay, I'll make myself smaller again. So, I mean, again, if you're the jury and you're looking at this, the first, I mean, this is also interesting. So this is where they do the acts. Racketeering conspiracy. How do you find the defendant, Sean Combs, with respect to count 1, guilty, not guilty? And I think I had mentioned that the defense preferred that the not guilty was on the left side versus right. I don't know why. I think you read that way. Is that right? Do you guys read that way? Wait, okay, sorry. That's a good idea. Someone just said make a poll if you think can I do that with StreamYard? Make a poll? I don't know how to do anything. Sorry. I'm really sorry. If someone wants to tell me how to do it, I will. Okay. So yeah, so this is what it is. The charges, again, 5 charges, those were not dropped. Like if someone thinks like they drop Jane's sex trafficking charge, they're dropping acts underneath RICO in order to hone in on the predicates here, the acts. But again, Jarrett's going to join me in a second, and he will really be able to explain what is necessary. And also, I really, again, want to discuss the whole unanimous thing, or if it has to be unanimous here, because I did not know that. And that might be a federal thing. When I'm reading my text messages, that's funny. Sorry, I'm like, I'm all over the place. That's not a new thing here. You'll pay to see all the faces. Oh my gosh. So that's why I love this chat. I do feel like everybody has very different opinions on whether or not he's guilty. But let me just go through this. Okay, so then we see the predicates here. If you found the defendant guilty on count 1, please indicate whether the pattern of racketeering activity that the defendant agreed would be committed involved kidnapping, including attempted kidnapping, aiding and abetting. Okay, so this is the old one. This is from 2021. This is the old one. Just kidding. So, but whatever. So now you can see what they're going to be removing. Yeah, 2020 or 621. So I think today we'll end up getting the updated proposed slips. Let me go to the defense, because you're going to see the defense's slip is way different. Oh my gosh, it's so different. Where was it on? I think it was here it is. Okay. Yeah. Racketeering, conspiracy. Can you see this? Sorry, I just want to make sure that I'm on. Yeah. It's way different. Way, way different. It says basically count 1, count 2. Wait, mine's not showing up, is it? Yeah. Yeah. Racketeering, conspiracy, guilty, not guilty. And then count 2, sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura, guilty, not guilty. I mean, again, very, very, very simple here. Count 3, Mann Act transportation, Cassie Ventura. Count 4, S trafficking of Jane, and then Mann Act. So the defense wants the Mann Act and the trafficking together, which I think is a pretty strategic move here. Oh, yay, Jared's here. Okay, awesome. Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much. So court started a little bit later today. And so I wanted to jump on because listen, we know how the media writes headlines in order to make everybody click, but I really wanted to clarify and have you clarify legally the difference here between the charges and the acts underneath the charges. So, for example, I just went through the fact that under the racketeering charge, the government is dropping various acts in order to streamline the deliberations, I believe, and get the two predicates that they need on RICO.
Okay, so they've dropped, what I understand is they've dropped the arson charge and a kidnapping charge of Capricorn Clark, correct? Those are the two they withdrew.
But when you say charge, I'm saying act. Like, these are acts under the RICO charge.
Right. So these were
charges as well? Is that the difference here?
Well, they're RICO predicates. So let's say this. So although he was not charged with an arson offense or a kidnapping offense, under the RICO law, and last time we talked, we kept calling it conspiracy. It's corrupt organization, okay? Yeah. And we were talking about co-conspirators. Really, we were talking about members of his organization, and we ran with that term, which isn't the proper term. So I wanted to clarify that. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Although he's not facing those charges, the government is required to prove RICO predicates. Some of those predicates could be the assault of Cassie, the arson, okay, on the car with the Molotov cocktail, the kidnapping charge of Capricorn Clark. They've pulled some of those where they feel like maybe they didn't meet their burden. They're saying it's so they didn't confuse the jury. But it could be an array of those charges. In order to prove the corrupt organization, you need to prove those corrupt or those predicate offenses.
2 of them, right? 2
yes,
of them.
at least 2. So if they're pulling 2 back, they're saying, hey, jury, we don't want you to be focused on a couple of these issues. We feel we met our burden in these particular offenses. Okay. It could be the assault. It could be, and the ones they pull back, you know, oftentimes, Lauren, you don't know how a case is going to play out. Maybe they don't like the way Capricorn Clark testified on that particular issue. Maybe they didn't feel like they had enough support for the kidnapping charge. Was it a kidnapping? Was it not a kidnapping? They don't want the jury hung up on that.
So then let me ask you, as a prosecutor.
Good point, Coco. They're the weaker predicate offenses.
So do you think this, and I don't know, I honestly don't know. I was thinking to myself, could this go both ways? This could be good for the defense, but could it also be good for the government in terms of, like, they don't want to confuse the jury. And if they only need 2, they think they're confident in these other, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't, or is it good for the defense because the jury has less options?
It could go both ways. First of all, they're victories for Diddy any way you slice it. They were accusing him of kidnapping. They were accusing him of arson. They feel like they did not prove those crimes as predicates for RICO, so they took them off the table. How is that bad news for Diddy? It's great news for Diddy. Okay.
Right.
The government is saying, we don't want the jury spending time on cases we acknowledge aren't as proven or established as the other predicates. So strategically, I guess it's good for the government to hold credibility, but at the same time, it's good news for Diddy.
Okay, got it. And by the way, Jared is not biased. Jared is the most unbiased person. Someone said, okay, he's not biased, he's on point. Because he's literally not. This is when someone like Jared speaks, he speaks from a point of view as an attorney, clearly, with the experience of a prosecutor. And I think that it's important that someone like Jarrett says what he thinks, and then someone like me or like you in the chat, you guys are not lawyers. You would be a juror like me, just sitting there trying to understand all of this. So
Well,
I think that,
personally, but
yeah,
Lauren, my personal opinion is it's a good day for Diddy if they're taking things
yeah,
off the table. Legally, you can read it, but calling both sides of the ball, the government saves face in acknowledging certain weaknesses in how their case came in and says, hey, look, we don't want you bogged down here. We want you focused on these predicates to establish RICO. So
right.
again,
Okay.
but personally, I feel like this is a victory in the charging and the predicates for Diddy because the jury's not even considering those right now. Okay. That's a
Or they
good
won't
day.
be.
How could
Right.
that be a bad
Yeah.
day for him?
No, you're right. Okay, got it. And then let me ask you this, because I'm a little confused. So for a federal case like this, and maybe just in general, when there are predicate acts, and let's say there's, the government has 4 or 5 predicate acts on RICO, the jury needs to find him guilty of 2 out of 5, let's say, for a guilty verdict. They don't have to be unanimous on the 2. They can all just pick whichever ones they see him guilty as.
They're elements of the crime. So in order to find him, it's a good question. I believe they have to find 2 unanimously though. So
Okay.
because
Okay.
okay, so here's why. Because it's an element of the RICO charge. It's not just, are you guilty of 2 predicate offenses? It's, are you guilty of 2 predicate offenses and are you operating a corrupt organization? And together, those have to be found unanimously. Your question on whether or not they could say, has the government met their burden on the 2 predicate offenses? One, let's just say this. One, we believe, one juror believes he committed arson. One juror believes he committed assault. I believe the 2 predicate offenses have to be found unanimously.
Okay. I feel like maybe I made this up, but I feel like I saw something about the government trying to say that they did not want the predicates to be unanimous.
And again, Lauren, that's a nuanced aspect of the
It
RICO.
is.
If that's the case, and that's their request, they're saying when you charge more than 2, we only need a jury to unanimously find 2. To me,
Right. Okay.
I would make the argument in response to that, if I'm representing Diddy, to say, hey, look, his life in prison is essentially on the line. You're going to tell me we aren't required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed these particular acts unanimously and then was operating an organization? To me, it just leaves too much.
Let me pull this up then.
Too many options on the table. So pull it up. We could talk through it.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. But like I said, I swear I read it this morning. Let me see. Hold on. The purpose of streamlining. I like I said, I might have I was reading a lot of stuff this morning. I swear I didn't make it up. I swear. Where did I read this? If anyone in the chat knows what I'm talking about, let me know. It's probably okay. Conspiracy instruction. Yeah, oh, here it is. Okay. The government objects to the unanimous instructions for the Sex Trafficking and Mann Act offenses. The government can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Then can you just read it and then let me know what you're thinking there with that? Because this just totally addresses the unanimous aspect of the charges. Yeah, I knew I wasn't totally crazy. Just a
So the
little.
government is objecting to the court's
And
union
I yeah.
unanimity instruction for the sex trafficking and Mann Act offenses. They're saying they have been unable to find a single first sex trafficking and Mann Act case where unanimity instruction was given, and they're concerned that the language will introduce error into the charge. Now, again, very nuanced. The court is saying,
Mhm.
according to that document, the
Okay.
court is instructing on unanimity. Okay. They're saying you have to find these charges unanimously.
The
The
predicates
government is
though.
saying we have not seen that instruction when we've had multiple predicate offenses in the past. I don't necessarily know the definitive answer to that question. What it means, though, for
Okay.
those out there is one of two things. Either the jury has to unanimously agree on the same two charges as predicate offenses, or they have the option to pick from five or six, so
Right.
long as there's enough of them that find two and those move forward. Here's my position is this. That's an element of the RICO charge. That element should be unanimous. Okay. And I'm sure that's what the government instruction says, or the judge's instruction says. The government is taking a different position. And they've pulled two predicates off the table. Why would they have pulled two off the table if two of them may have spoken to jurors and they could have picked those two and not have been unanimous? I think that somebody on there could have believed Capricorn Clark. Somebody on there could have
Right.
surmised that Diddy threw the Molotov cocktail through the Porsche. So I think
Right.
it's a little confusing to me. So it's not clear based on that filing where the court came down on the instruction.
Right. Okay. And that's what we're going to go over today at 2 p.m. is that's when the charging conference is, and I believe at some point today or maybe tonight we should see the reproposed forms from the government and the defense, or they work it out in court and then it's all done and we'll just see the one that's going to be handed over to the jury by either Friday, I think is what's going to happen. But somebody said something, I want to pin this. Jury's going to say, we've been hearing about the trafficking, kidnapping, and arson over and over again for 6 weeks now. What happened? Well, the trafficking charge, those aren't going away. The trafficking charges, those are two separate charges in itself. Again, we're talking about the predicates in the RICO case, but I do agree with you when it comes to the arson, because that was such a big part of the government's case here, Kid Cudi, and he appeared to be a somewhat decent witness if you don't believe that it was hearsay. But also, I guess you could argue the other side is that there were police reports, but Diddy wasn't mentioned anywhere. So that's where I just get like, all right, it's up to the jury.
To
Who
me,
knows?
though, Lauren,
Yeah.
I think, and this isn't a comment on the merits of the Kid Cudi portion of this case, because I did think it was
Mhm.
weak, but there
Yeah.
was more than just hearsay. I mean, his car was burned. It coincided with Capricorn Clark's
Yes.
testimony
I meant
and the timing
hearsay.
of Diddy's being pissed off. And it appeared to be something that could have come from Diddy. It was malt liquor with a silk scarf. Like, all of those things aren't hearsay. Some of it is very circumstantial, of course, but I would have left it on the table unless they really are getting a sense they did not get to that burden.
Well, when I said hearsay, they're saying Shapiro brought it up yesterday that when Kid Cudi was on the stand and he discussed, or he point blank asked Diddy about his car, and Diddy said, I have no idea, and then he kind of thought he was lying. They're saying, well, that's hearsay. That's what this witness said. And
Well,
then
but
they
here's an exception to hearsay is the defendant's own statement. So it comes in,
right,
and it's not technically although it's hearsay under the law, it's allowed in because it's Diddy's own statement. So a
okay,
defendant's own statement is not hearsay. It's largely circumstantial. And you and I have had this discussion thousands of times. Circumstantial evidence is evidence. I think they should have left it in. I don't get it at the 11th hour taking it out,
well,
especially like some of the commenters said, they spent so much time on it. It was a huge part of the case. It was big part of the case that was covered. I mean, you're there, you see it.
yeah, and they brought this up too. Shapiro brought it up yesterday, the DNA from a woman, and so maybe the government felt like, okay, who knows? I really don't know, but you're right. And then Capricorn Clark's half of her testimony was based on the trespassing and then the arson. So it's like,
So what does
I'm
it say? What does that say? Did Capricorn Clark lie about something? Are we not to believe her? And if we're not to believe her about that, do we believe her about anything? That's the risk you run when you start pulling the carpet of charges off the table. It's like, wait a minute, I thought this was the theory of your case. I thought this was how
yeah.
Diddy maintains control over anybody who comes across him. Like, that's a black eye. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't really know either. And I think it also might be, and this is just an opinion speculation, but I think the defense, by putting on a 30-minute case in chief, I mean, the government must have been like, wait, are they that confident right now? We need to check ours. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like, that
Yeah, I was
could
really
be another thing that
surprised as
prompted them.
I was surprised as anybody. Like, I've had a lot of trials where there was nothing to say. There was nothing to be put on by a defense, and those are tough. But at the same time, they did not sit in the corner in this trial. They
Mm,
cross-examined witnesses for days. So they
yeah.
put on a defense during the prosecution's case in chief. They didn't sit quietly. They challenged every witness. They challenged the credibility of every witness. They challenged the bias. They challenged the motive. They challenged the intent of every witness that took the stand for the government. When you do that effectively, you are, in the government's case, chipping away at the case in chief and reasonable doubt. So maybe they say to themselves, we did a fine job. And look at the last time we did our show on Diddy. It was beyond a 50-50 split in support of Diddy,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It
And
was.
I was surprised by that. I have, as we said, I'm writing a book. I haven't been doing a ton of Diddy stuff. I was surprised by the breakdown and enlightened by it.
Yeah.
So I think they feel confident. I think they feel comfortable with the doubt they've sown in that courtroom. They're ready for the jury
Yeah.
to go.
Well, this is an interesting comment. I'm pretty sure the feds have a 98% success rate. So I was talking about this the other day with somebody, and it's very rare that a defendant walks out of a federal courthouse free, just free to go. I think Irv Gotti did. Am I this was a while ago, but again, I think this is why also, if you remember, the Mann Act charges, those were added last minute. The original indictment only had the 3 counts. It was RICO and the 2 counts of the sex trafficking. So I was just like, okay, that's another aspect of this. The feds usually are pretty good at getting at least one conviction,
I
right?
think they have him on those. I think those charges, which carry 10 years, I mean, they're no joke. But here's what
Mm.
I'll say about the 98% conviction rate.
Yeah.
Not every defendant is Diddy. Not every case is Hollywood, high stakes. Like, not every case is like this. This case on the merits is unique. It falls maybe into that 2% category where you're talking about
Yeah.
multi-state, major money, women, men in entertainment, mixing with the gang life and all these things. So I don't know. I mean, that conviction rate is pretty staggering when you look at it. I think they're going to get most likely going to get those trafficking charges, and we talked about them adding those in. But I don't
You mean
know
the Mann Act? The
I
Mann
mean the
Act
Mann
one?
Act violations,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
on the big RICO charge, I could see that. I could see it failing. I could see it not. That the government having not met their burden.
Okay. What do you think about this?
John Gotti
Shapiro.
fixed his jury. I saw that
Oh,
comment.
really? Did he really?
Yes, yes. And just there was jury tampering there. I'm sorry to interrupt
Oh.
you, but
Oh no, it's fine. I was going to ask you. So, what do you think about this? It's not a rebuttal. It was part of the Rule 29. Shapiro said, in terms of the Mann Act, they only had 2 men testify, Daniel Phillip and the Punisher, and those men were not prostitutes. They each had a career and a job, and she said, they weren't official sex workers, basically. And she also said, and they were paid for their time if they didn't do anything sexually. So what do you make of that? Is that even an argument? Is that a rebuttal here?
It's a good defense, but it's really, that's up to the jury. I mean, were they paid for their time, or were they paid for their sex acts at that time? The fact that they had other jobs is kind of immaterial. You know, the fact that they didn't pursue escort services full time is not an exception under the Mann Act. This is up to the jury. Do you see them as, clearly they're not your typical street walking prostitute? Okay, no, this is a new age in that business, and you have to say that it's up to the jury. I mean, you know, that's a great way to frame them and say, they're not your typical prostitute. They were paid for their time. They had a choice what they wanted to do at that point.
Okay. And also I remember they showed text. It's funny. The government, I think, showed this text exchange, but it may have worked better for the defense. I don't know. It was the Cowboys for Angels woman. And I guess Diddy shortchanged this person, and he was contacted about it. And he was like, what? They didn't even perform, or they didn't even finish, or something like that. And the woman was like, whoa, she was kind of like, whoa, 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 you pay for time and companionship. Like, what are you saying right now? So you better pay up. And then he's like, okay, it's fine.
So I saw your comment whether or not the Mann Act applies to Cassie and Daphne.
Oh, sorry. It's Jane. Jane. Sorry. I didn't mean to say, I meant to say Jane. I didn't mean to pin that. Sorry. It's Jane.
But again, there is a portion of the transportation for sex that does apply to Cassie and Daphne. So
no,
if they were
you gotta say Jane.
Jane. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jane.
Okay.
So there is a portion of that applies to them and their transportation. So, but again, the question of whether or not the Punisher or those guys were paid for their time and sex is relevant, and a question that will be posed to the jury in assessing the totality of these charges.
Okay. I love all the differing opinions, though. It's so interesting. I also want to say something else that I think has really opened my eyes, just being there inside the courtroom. Guys, you can't, I gotta either, I'm going to delete your comment if you say her real name, or I have to kick you out. So please stop. Literally. It's not like, hold on. Someone else wrote, I don't have mods. So, yeah, I will put you in timeout. Okay. Yes. And thank you so much. Thank you for that. No, I was gonna say, being there and seeing some of these witnesses on the stand, it's their demeanor and their, I don't know, like, for example, Brianna Bongolan, I think that she could have come across a few ways to the jury. You know what I mean? If you're just reading the testimony after and you're reading the transcripts, it doesn't really show exactly, you know, what happened and her mannerisms, the way that she answered questions, the way, do you know what I'm saying?
Like what, Lauren? What spoke to you about her mannerisms?
Well, and it wasn't just her. It was also like Mia as well. During these two witnesses in particular, I think that their cross-examination was so brutal, right? We had Nicole Westmoreland and Brian Steele, who went really, really hard. So their answers, they weren't, I guess, as smooth as other witnesses. It was a lot of like them saying they don't understand the question or repeating the question. And I think it maybe frustrated people in the gallery and possibly the jury. I don't know. I know at some points people were a little bit like, okay, come on, let's, you know, and on both ends. I mean, the defense attorneys as well as the witnesses, they were just like, all right, can you guys sort of work together on this here? Because it just seems like they're not jiving. I think that was just, you know, it could have gone both ways, right? For the jury, they could have maybe felt like these women were being deceptive, or they could have thought that the defense attorney was going too hard. But again, when you're reading the transcript, you don't get any of that.
Well, it's hard to articulate those, nonverbal signals that are sent, and verbal, in a black and white transcript. It really is. I mean, I've read transcripts where the litigants are screaming, but you're reading it and it reads like, you're reading instructions to install a garbage disposal. You just don't get the emotion. You don't get the sense. So really the jury is in that unique position to assess all of this. And that's really something don't lose sight of. I have been a third-party observer of this. My information has largely come from you who's there and interpreting it and reading accounts of it. So I haven't seen what the jury's seen, but rest assured, not only what they see, what they feel is very important. And that's part of what they're bringing into those deliberations.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's like this whole time I feel like I've been like, it's up to the jury. Well, obviously it's up to the jury, but this case in particular, it just is so, there's so much gray that I don't know what to expect next week. If they go into deliberations by Monday, I feel, well, number one, I feel like they're going to want to be done by the 4th of July, by Friday, right? Like I would think.
I think so. I think you're going to have a verdict. If they go in Monday, you'll have a verdict at the latest by Wednesday.
You really think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I was thinking that too. I mean, I literally hope so, but I do feel like they also are getting really tired. They are fatigued. You can see their eyes kind of like, all right. I mean, yesterday was a super long day for everybody. So and obviously the jury included, but I think I can tell at this point they're done. Everybody's done. Everybody's hitting a wall. It's like,
well, and if you've ever done, like I've had trials that have lasted close to this kind of timeline, and there's a theory of primacy and recency. In the beginning, you hear this phenomenal opening statement, and that stays in your mind, and then is the last word the word you remember. One thing I could tell you is, after a long trial like this, jurors have a sense that is almost unshakable when they go into that room. It's, how have I felt over the past? So how many days total was it? 28? 28 days?
Yesterday was day 29. So closings will be.
So 29. Okay. So 29 days.
I guess. Or
let's say 28 of those 29 days, you felt government meeting its burden, defense not, putting a finger on their case. You go into that jury room really in that direction. And that's really, it's collectively how have you felt? And then you start breaking everything down and rehashing it. It's no longer as important what a lawyer said in the opening statement, or one particular witness made you feel a certain way on one answer. It's a collective assessment you have that you bring into that room. And then it's the collective assessment of all the jurors, but never underestimate the power of people to be persuaded by others. One of the things jurors have to promise is, hey, I will not be shaken by the opinion of others. Just because I feel a certain way, I'm going to maintain that. That doesn't mean you can't consider what other people are saying. It's like, are they going to intimidate you? Are they going to cajole you? It doesn't take much to get people. I've represented boards. I've done a lot of jury trials, and I'm shocked sometimes the thin line between the position somebody's taken and when they're just prodded a little bit, how they change their mind. So look at Karen Reed. They said they had a verdict. 2 seconds later, they didn't have a verdict. Somebody had buyer's remorse, maybe. Who knows? So,
right. And then do you think it's also going to depend on how well the judge delivers these instructions and how the jury slips come out? Do you think that must take a really big part in, or play a big role in how long the deliberation takes? Because if they don't fully understand what they're deliberating on, that's a big problem.
Well, yeah, they're always complicated. You're going to hear these instructions and think, man, this is way more complicated than I thought it was. One of the things I would do in a closing argument is say, this comes down to 3 questions, folks. If you believe he did this and you believe he did this, the answer is guilty. If you don't believe it, we're done. No matter what the judge tells you, if those 2 questions are no, have a good day. If it's yes, he's guilty. And remember
Right.
that when you're, whatever the judge tells you, I say, remember those two big questions, because what you're trying to do is arm jurors that are with
Mhm.
you to raise those questions. They would say, but aren't these the two questions? And then
Right.
they're much easier to answer often than the law defines Mann Act as this, and transportation for this purpose is this. It's like, if they got in a car, if they were present, and if they were taken there for sex, he's guilty of that count, and move on. Like, speak the direct instructions
Right.
in their terms before the judge gets to go there.
But but it's also, just framing it this way. It's also like, if they get these instructions, they're deliberating, and let's say if the arson predicate was still present on the slip, they cannot click, or they cannot check guilty if they have any shadow of a doubt. So if and perhaps that's why hearing that the female DNA was on the bottle, that's the shadow of a doubt they have, and that would mean they can't check the guilty box without being 100% confident, right? Like, that's just you know what I mean? Like a
Right.
1% chance. It's 1%. That's all it takes, right?
Right. So that particular charge shouldn't be there. They're
Hmm.
taking it off the table. So, but you're right. I mean, those instructions are the instructions, and then the verdict slip itself. The verdict slip is a roadmap, then,
Yeah.
of the jury's decision. So it's like, if this, then that, then this, then that. Like, that's what they fought about on the Reed thing, right? It was like,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
she's guilty of this, then go no further. She's essentially guilty of everything. So that
Okay.
is a little bit different of an animal than the jury instructions, which are brutal.
Right. Well, and so that, just to like answer everybody's question, and it's still, I would say it's still a bit unclear because we don't have the finalized jury form, but all the headlines that everyone's reading, if joined late, that say that charges have been dropped. Again, this goes to the government's proposed letter to the judge last night, in basically removing some of the predicate acts under the RICO charge, which were arson, kidnapping, and aiding and abetting of the trafficking. So again, we don't have a verdict sheet yet. I'm hoping that will be either tonight, tomorrow, definitely before Friday. And we also are not 100% sure if the jury has to be unanimous on the predicate acts. I think that will probably be discussed in the charging conference today. Um, but yeah, it definitely is. It's not black and white. That is for sure.
Judge Shady,
Yeah.
I hear that. And
Yeah.
really, this is a fight, and it's really no different in a sense than most cases. The parties do fight over jury instructions. And the answer to that question, although it's not clear to me because I haven't done a RICO case where predicates have to be unanimously found.
Okay.
The answer is judge and the parties at that point. So it'll be clarified. And
Okay.
I don't want to say I mean, my answer, it's really my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to misspeak either.
Yeah, no, I think at this point we're all kind of in the same boat, but I know that headlines can be very misleading. So I wanted to jump on because for me it would be or not for me, but if I was the defendant, sure, this would be a win, but it's like, if I see charges dropped, I'm like, it would be a huge win if the entire RICO charge was dropped if I was the defendant, and that's not what's happening here. So that's what I wanted to
Well,
clarify.
the clickbait is charges dropped, but
Yeah.
again, it's good news for Diddy any way you slice it, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. 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 And it was just so wild yesterday. You can see where everyone on the stand had testified about how charming this guy was, how he was just such a personable guy, really just was so inspirational, all this stuff. And it was just wild that we saw it firsthand when the judge is like, how are you, Mr. Combs? And he's like, I'm great, Your Honor. I was like, wow, you're great. He was so upbeat. And then right before the judge could say something else, he was like, and I just want to let you know, Your Honor, you're doing an excellent job. I was like, this guy. I was like, this guy, right? Like,
So, hey,
what is
he's
this?
got it. He's got it, no doubt in that respect.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you so much, Zero, too. Like I said, I welcome everybody's opinion respectfully, excuse me. Well, Jarrett, thank you so much for joining and explaining all of
Yeah,
this.
I was like
Yeah,
legal analyst on demand today. In my defense, you just texted me. I was doing
I
something. I'm like, yeah, I'll jump on. So I didn't
I
have
said
any
that
time
to
to
everybody.
prepare.
I was like, I'm texting lawyers, right? I'm like, oh, Jarrett, I gotta text Jarrett right now to see if he's free. So that's so funny. Oh my
Well,
gosh,
my
so
pleasure, and everybody. Great to see you, Lauren. Great to see everybody, and the new folks that have been watching through your Diddy coverage too. So we'll see
yeah.
you again.
Thank you. Thanks, Jarrett. Well, the two of us will be back. I'm gonna stay on, guys, because I have a little more time. But thank you
Take
for
care. Thanks.
explaining everything. You're the best. Okay. So I feel like I feel a little bit better about this. I guess how did kick from studio. Okay. Okay. I feel a little bit better about this in terms of the fact that nothing is finalized per se. I mean, obviously the government, that's going to be a thing. These acts will not be there anymore, but the jury slip is not finalized, and we don't know I guess about the unanimous portion of the predicate acts. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to see if there's anything, like, I can pull up the TMZ article really fast to see. Let me see, share this tab just to see how TMZ reported it. I always find that to be interesting. This is funny. So calm down, everyone. It's up to the judge. Okay. Wait, I sound biased? It's just so funny. I love when everybody says that I get so many comments on both quote unquote sides that I sound biased. And that's how you know that you're not biased, when each side is like, you're all for the prosecution. And the other side's like, well, you sound like you're for the defense. I'm like, yeah, because I'm just calling it like I see it in court. I'm so biased. Yeah. So if you think I'm biased, then I don't know. No one's forcing you to be here. Okay, but here is the TMZ article. Okay. In a stunning move, the day before closing arguments, the prosecutors have pulled back on some key testimony during the trial, specifically kidnapping, arson, aiding and abetting the trafficking. Oh, yeah. So, all right. This is pretty much the same that we sort of discussed. The lie detector, which I had mentioned, they said she wasn't taken with force. As for the aiding and abetting the trafficking charges, prosecutors don't explain what elements of the trafficking they will 86 from the jury instructions. Prosecutors are not dropping the various sex trafficking charges, only elements of them. Again, the acts. Prosecutors say they want an instruction that just because women gave prior consent to the acts, it doesn't mean it can never be withdrawn. Prosecutors also say that jurors should be told just because a woman, Jane, received compensation, that does not preclude a finding of forced labor, which relates to the trafficking. This was actually brought up yesterday by Alexandra Shapiro. She said that she's basically said that the whole charge with Jane relating to sex trafficking should be dismissed because Jane had financial motive. And again, this is what Shapiro said. She stated that financial motive was on the table, gifts, rent being paid, whatever. I mean, God, it's so weird. I'm like, I should kick people. Sorry. I don't I don't have mods. I don't know how to people making like mean, rude comments. Like, I don't know. It's so weird. I hope you have a better day. If you felt the need to come here on a live where I'm just trying to be informative and discuss stuff, that you feel the need to be mean. Thank you so much. That's so nice. So yeah. So again, we'll find out what's going on today in terms of the charges. Hopefully they'll have a finalized jury slip, but I do feel very bad for this jury, because I think that this is going to be a lot. And there's a lot of evidence to go through, but I think the one good thing here is that during the summary witnesses for the government, all these charts, all these graphs that we saw, a lot of this was recycled or testimony or text messages that we had heard before, or the jury had heard before. So I think that's like the only silver lining here. It's like, we didn't just get, 4 days of new evidence and new testimony. It was a lot of the same. So hopefully that helps them review a lot of this evidence. Let me see. I'm going through. Thank you. No, thank you so much, Nicole. I'm not worried. I just was like, oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting that you feel that way. Thank you so much. You're so kind. So I will do, I'll do another video. Oh my gosh. Wait, sorry. I saw this morning that Tyrone Blackburn was arrested. That's crazy. Let me pull that up really quick because he just did the Fat Joe lawsuit. Obviously, he's Lil Rod Jones's attorney, formerly Brianna Bongolin's attorney. What the heck happened here? Geez. For mowing down process server? What? Okay. I'm going to share this. That is so crazy. Thank you, Claudia. That's really nice. Thank you so much. Okay. This is, oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just make sure that I didn't, okay, I'm good. Wow, this is so funny. Okay, I'm not kidding. I took a picture, just really quick. I took a picture, like, I think it was the second day of jury selection. And I took a picture with Lil Rod and Tyrone. And someone literally just texted me, your pal Tyrone Blackburn was arrested for assault, FYI. Hit a process server with his car. Yo, he's not my pal. I took a picture, okay? Thanks, Christy. You guys are so nice. I really appreciate you guys. But holy moly. Okay. Wait, let me take this down so it doesn't look like I'm loving myself here. Because I'm not, trust me. All right. The attorney leveling scathing claims against Fat Joe on behalf of a former employee just got himself in trouble with the law. Tyrone Blackburn, the lawyer representing Terrence Dixon, has been arrested for assault just days after he filed a $20 million lawsuit against the rappers. The legal complaint, yes, we know, being a pedo and allegedly attempting to unalive 50 Cent, who, by the way, 50 Cent is like team Fat Joe. I was like, oh, okay. I was so excited for his petty reply and response, and it was very, it was very much a letdown. But let's see. Okay, Fat Joe's issues with Dixon took a shocking turn on Wednesday, June 25th, when his accuser's attorney was arrested. A rep for the NYPD confirmed the news, noting Blackburn was, oh my gosh. Wait, although he was recently arrested, the lawyer's legal drama started last month following a violence report. According to the rep, the incident occurred on the night of May 12th when Blackburn met a 66-year-old messenger hired by the rapper's attorney, Joe Tacopina. Oh, I love Joe He represented ASAP Rocky, Joe Tacopina. I don't know if you guys followed that trial, but Joe Tacopina is, I mean, he's so funny. There was a point in that trial where they were discussing, the prosecutor was saying something and he's like, Joe, oh, wait, was it really? Am I that dumb? It was sarcastic. Am I an idiot? I knew that the photo was AI that he made. I just thought it was like, I thought he was really being like, this doesn't matter. It's not real. Wow. Okay. But no, Tacopina during the ASAP Rocky trial, during I think it was like an evidentiary argument between him and the prosecutor. He actually, the prosecutor threatened him in some way. And then Joe Tacopina goes, ooh, I'm really scared, like in court. It was really funny. Damn. Wow. Thank you so much. That I'm an idiot. But you know what? I'm still disappointed with that post. It wasn't as petty as I really wanted it to be. But okay, so the older messenger had been hired to serve Blackburn with a complaint in Joe's case, but the legal rep did not react positively to the news. TMZ reported that he jumped into his car, pushed it in reverse, backed up, hitting the server in the leg and causing an injury. Before this lawsuit became public, the rapper's attorney Tacopina alleged that Blackburn had initially sent a demand letter for $3 million. Oh, the lawyer claims his client was owed the sum for allegedly co-writing music with the hip-hop star, but Tacopina brushed off the claim. The 54-year-old's legal rep noted that Blackburn did not accept his refusal and sent another demand letter with pedo allegations. These letters pushed Tacopina to file a defamation and extortion lawsuit against Blackburn and Dixon, leading to the May incident between the older messenger and the lawyer. Okay, that is really interesting. Oh my gosh, that kind of reminds me of Suge a little bit, getting in his car and backing up. But wait, that's really nice. I remind you of a Hallmark actress. I think that's really nice. Should I have like a hat and a scarf and gloves on and be in like a winter wonderland waiting for my old high school boyfriend to be my Prince Charming? But okay, but back to Tyrone, he was really nice when I met him, but I then learned during the Diddy trial that he exaggerated Brianna Bongolan's lawsuit and included some things that caused Brianna Bongolan to let him go. So that's that. I'll just leave it there. But he exaggerated some SA claims out on the balcony, and Brianna Bongolan, she kind of explained that really it was because he picked her up allegedly, and that's how he dangled her. And I guess Blackburn kind of made it so it was like a feel up the body type of thing, a groping, and then they called it sexual assault. So she was like, no, that never happened. So, and then like, I don't know, there were certain things about the Fat Joe lawsuit. I mean, how do you know the number 4,000? Like if he made you have intercourse in front of him 4,000 times. I'm not saying it didn't have whatever. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, how do you get to that number? Because 4,000, that's a lot. I mean, do you know how long it would take to get to the point of four? I mean, it'd have to be multiple times in a day. I'm assuming. But no, and listen, I'm not trying to like name call. I'm not trying to, but I understand where people are coming from. And I had gone through this before, but I always was a little bit weary of the Jay-Z lawsuit because I did something on a live stream where I pulled up the maps and I sort of was cross-referencing her lawsuit and just little things. And I'm not in the business of calling anyone out. I'm not trying to do that, but certain civil lawsuits that are so extreme and so wild, I just wanted to look for myself in terms of geography. So I pulled up where Diddy's house was. I found the nearest gas station that she allegedly walked to, and I also saw like that would be an hour walk. And this woman, she had claimed that she was drugged and assaulted by 3 different people. Remember, Diddy and 2 other celebrities, and that she had drugs in her system. And she walked by herself at 13 years old, I guess over an hour to a gas station. I mean, that did seem very extreme, especially because when you're walking in the suburbs, there's not a lot of street lights and street lamps, and you're 13 years old. I mean, again, if that was me, I think maybe I'd go to a neighbor's house, or I don't know, or I'd find a phone nearby. And I would have never been able to get myself to a gas station in the dark at 13 if I was drugged. I would have no idea. But yeah, I kind of remember it, but I just was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm not trying to call anyone out. I just was trying to figure out, some of the details. So I don't like, are you okay? I don't understand. You don't have to be here. You, you can go if you don't like what I'm saying. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I mean, maybe I'll do more live streams when the trial is over. I used to do maybe 1 a week or so, but maybe I'll do a little bit more and yeah, I'll let you know. But okay, I just want to make sure. Wow. So Tyrone Blackburn, I wonder if I should look this up to see if he's in Rikers, or what happened, the court search on. Let me do Manhattan Criminal Court right now. Tyrone, to see what happened, to see if they even have it in the system yet. Yeah, there's nothing. Let me see. Share this tab instead. There's nothing in the system just yet about this arrest. Let me see. I don't get it. Why are you saying all this? Academics call? I don't get it. Weird. No, he wouldn't be in the federal jail. I think he wouldn't be held. Also, it's New York. I mean, they don't really hold anybody. So, but no, if anything, I guess, wow, that's crazy. I bet it's too soon. So he's not in the system yet. That's but he will be. He will be really soon. I'll remove that. Okay, so I'll probably leave here like in 15 minutes. I'll head down to court and then I'll give everybody an update after about the charging conference. It's so hot out. So yeah, wish me luck getting down there. Oh, someone asked, sorry, the Rock Nation lawsuits. I know someone had asked me to look into those. So I will, but I think it was like it was a guy alleging that he's Jay-Z's son or something like that. If I am correct. Oh, that's so nice. So I've DM'd with academics a few times on Twitter, and he was asking like if he said, oh, maybe I could, join him for a live stream or something like that. And then I was like, yeah, sure. And then one day he asked if I was available, like on a Sunday. And I was like, well, what time? And then he never responded. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But I would definitely go on with him, especially after the trial as well. So, and no, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying exactly what goes on in the courtroom. I'm talking about how I understand things and things I don't understand, but I'm not saying really either way because again, it's not really up for me to decide. There have been some things that I guess I could say an opinion on. I'll probably wait and I'll do a live stream after the trial. I did say well, I'll just wait. After the trial. And then somebody said, wait, what does this mean? Typical academics. Does that mean he doesn't follow through on things? I'm not even sure. So yeah, let me know. Yes, Gary, I do have to leave soon. It'll take me like, I don't know, probably 20 to 30 minutes on the subway. If I decide to actually, it's so hot. I might just take a taxi because I don't want to be like a greasy mess by the time I get down there, which I probably will anyway. But yes, I should probably go. So, oh, thanks. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure. And yes, I live in Manhattan all the time. So, or all the time. I live in Manhattan, period. Yes, I do. So my family, my children, my husband, yeah, we all live here, but I'm originally from New Hampshire and I moved here in college. So, which was a long time ago. But do I think Diddy will walk? I mean, it's not up to me. It is up to the jury. And what I will say, I know that you guys are probably frustrated with me for not giving these full opinions here. I'll just say I don't think it's black and white. I think that it could go either way. And I know that's not helpful, but I think in some trials you're like, oh, definitely it's got to be guilty. That's, certain trials you're just like, yes, this is it. For this one, I don't know. I do know, like, in terms of the jury, like when that one juror number 6 was kicked off, I do know that was seemingly a blow to the defense because I think this guy was like a 90s hip hop fan and he was replaced with a 57-year-old white male accountant. And I learned that generally accountants, and I think it might have been through Jarrett, I can't remember. And then I kind of looked it up, and accountants are generally good for the prosecution just based on their mindsets, the way their brains work. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. We will see. I have no idea. And there are quite a few. How many? I mean, I think the jury is diverse, though. It's just, it is a diverse jury. They were just very upset. The defense was upset to see this juror go. And I completely understand from their perspective. I completely understand. So, Ori, oh my goodness, my friend Ori. Guys, you should also follow Ori if you don't already. He actually, Ori spent some time in MDC himself and in federal prison. He's got quite a story. He was a Hollywood fixer and had some ties to some people that you probably know. He does not engage in any of that anymore, but he does have really good insight into federal prosecutors, federal cases, and all of that. So, yeah. And thank you so much. I really do try to just be fair on both sides, just because I think that the public, when a trial like this is not televised, the public should hear both sides. So that way, when the verdict is out, people won't be surprised, or they will be surprised, or at least they'll have some kind of context as to why it went a certain way. How many days did you go into overflow versus the actual courtroom? Yeah, ask a couple questions, because I'm going to leave in 9 minutes if you have questions. So I've been in the courtroom pretty much since week 2, I want to say. I haven't gone into overflow really since the first week. So could people in the courtroom see or hear the free? No. So all of those videos and photos and much of Jane's text, they are sealed because of her pseudonym. But obviously there was this whole thing, and the media does want these freak off videos and these images, etc. But we're not getting them as of right now. Some of Jane's texts were just released. But we could yesterday, I think I mentioned this in my update, they had to adjust the headphones because we could kind of hear what was going on in the videos, and they were like, okay, we can hear this, so we need to turn it down. But I mean, my whole thing is that I think that the defense wanted to rebut with these particular freak off clips to show, and again, this is not me saying I don't believe anyone, but I think they wanted to show that Cassie and Jane were either quote unquote enjoying or appearing to enjoy themselves, but nobody give me crap, because I know they can fake it. And I'm just saying, this is what I think that the defense was doing. They were playing all these clips to show that they were possibly enjoying it. Or I was thinking, and the defense or the government was probably playing the clips where Diddy appeared to be maybe telling them what to do or giving directions based on that government testimony that we heard, because we had heard from the women that, oh, he told us what to do sometimes, this and that. So I feel like that's why they were trying to play the same videos, but different clips or parts from the videos in order to back their own cases. But nope, we did not see or hear any of that. But man, this poor jury. And like, I think that people are, they're wanting these like salacious updates about the jury, how they look when they're watching these videos. Well, at this point, they are not reacting. I mean, there is this one lady that is like, she's a little bit older and she's kind of judgy. She just sits there and she's like she is just over it. And she's just like so disappointed. She's like, but like nobody's reacting anymore. And I said this the other day, but I saw like the Daily Mail, I think, and Perez Hilton say that Diddy was dancing during a freak off video, and he was like that in his seat, and I was like, no, he wasn't. Like, I don't have eyes on him at all times, but I mean, like yesterday, for example, he was in a deep conversation with Nicole Westmoreland, his lawyer, during one of the videos. Like, they were chatting it up and they were kind of laughing, but I mean, I guess you could spin a headline into that. You could be like, oh, Diddy thinks the freak off videos are funny. You know what I mean? You could say anything you want. I don't know. I'm not good at headlines. So yeah, let me see. Yeah, she's never seen anything really. This lady, I don't want to say she's 70, but she could be maybe 65 to 68. Um, Let me see if there's any more questions really quick. Yeah, I mean, it's sad if they are, but like I'm not even numb from some of the texts. Even yesterday, hearing some of the explicit text, I was like, I was just like, are we done? Are we done? Are we done? Can you comment on your gut if you feel he is? No, I was just saying like I I don't know what the jury is thinking. I really don't. And it also, if you miss part of this discussion with Jarrett, the lawyer, it really to me is going to depend on the jury verdict slip and how well they're explained these charges. So let me see. That's what. Yeah, I mean, and I think in terms of like the quote unquote juicy stuff, I think a lot of people were surprised that the government's case rested because people were, and I think this was on Twitter, they were like, where's the GHB and the baby oil? Where's the minors? Where's the homosexual stuff? And I'm kind of like, I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely it's different. And for me, I guess it's different. You know, I'm thinking that they're gonna, I guess because the RICO, they're dating back to 2004. I was thinking, you know, the driver that he allegedly bribed after the 1999 club shooting. Get that guy to testify as a witness. Get you know, and there are so many civil suits, guys, like so many civil suits. It and the fact that they didn't really have anybody from those civil suits testify except for let's say Don Richard, Mia didn't have a civil suit, Brianna Bongolan had one. I mean, there were so many more that you're like, well, either these witnesses they didn't want to, like Gina, although she didn't have a suit, or they weren't asked. So what does that mean exactly? You know, does it mean that the government felt like some of these civil suits were exaggerated, or did they feel that, you know, they wouldn't help the RICO case? I don't know. But yeah, it's just it's wild. And I had also said this last week. I have like 1 minute left. In terms of Brendan Paul, like I was going into that testimony like, oh yeah, it's Diddy's drug mule. It's his drug mule. And what I learned was, man, he wasn't a drug mule. I mean, he was a personal assistant who cleaned up a hotel room as part of his job. He wasn't asked to take, in the case of his arrest, he wasn't asked to take any drugs. He took this like little baggie that he found of you know, the white girl, and he said he just took it out of the room just, you know, for reputational purposes. So nobody would you know, nobody would spread rumors about Diddy, et cetera. And they also testified this is why they cleaned up the hotel rooms, reputational purposes. So he took the baggie, he forgot he had it on him, and he was arrested. And again, when that headline hit, it was like Diddy's drug mule arrested in Miami. And I was like, ooh, like this is juicy. And then seeing this kid get on the stand where he's like, I was an honor student at Syracuse. I was a D1 walk-on, and I was a personal assistant who, you know, really wanted to like grow in the music industry. And I'm like, yeah, he was a drug mule, all right. Like it just, I think that so much got sensationalized that we were all expecting this case to have, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to say the word like juicy, but I think like, you know, people were wondering, ooh, where's the drugs and the baby oil? You know, everyone's saying, oh, well, there's GHB in the baby oil. I don't, yeah, we haven't seen that. So, yeah, let me just see. Why didn't the media do research on, I mean, it's the same. I think it's like, I think all they had at the time, because if you're going to break news, generally it depends on the state, but you're not always going to get the arrest affidavit. I mean, even right now, like if I was just checking the court system for Tyrone Blackburn, but he probably won't be entered in the system until tomorrow. So I think it was just like somebody affiliated with Diddy was just arrested for drugs in Miami, and then it spun from there. And then I'm sure there are articles going back and maybe adding some context around who this guy was, whatever. But he also at the time, and he testified to this, he didn't say that the drugs weren't his. He didn't say anything, and he did not talk to Diddy after that, and he hadn't really talked to him since. So, oh, is that right in the lawsuit? Okay. Okay. That's interesting. So there you go. And to be fair, Brendan Paul did testify on the stand that he said he got drugs for Diddy between, well, he said more than 5 times, less than 10 times. But he also testified that he always got like less than $500 worth of drugs. So I don't know what constitutes a drug mule. All I am saying is that I kind of realized I think this kid wasn't exactly a mule. He played a big hand in helping Diddy with his 2023 Love album. He had a lot of other duties, and he wasn't, a mule. But yeah, okay, all right. So I'm gonna go leave for the courthouse. I'll do a short video later, and I'll keep everybody updated. But thanks for joining. This was really fun for the most part. No, it was fun. I'm just kidding. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.